Hello.
I could come up with a laugh and learn new little intro.
I love your intros. I was just
Thank you.
really big into that then.
Thank you. It's good, isn't it? It's good.
I love it.
It's
It's the
good.
music, Gerald. You've just got talent.
I have talent to search YouTube music available for use that is copyright free. So yes. So everybody, welcome to a Laugh and Learn, which is also a magic tool talk about spirit boards.
Yeah.
And I am joined by Ben from Beneficial Tarot. And life is happened. So Chris, Barely Balanced Tarot, is not here. If the schedule adjusts, he may show up. So, which would be lovely. Chris, if you're watching this and you can make it in, that would be great.
To see you.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So, and I see the notice popped and all that good stuff. So I'm going to, what are you drinking?
I have the usual Pepsi Max.
Okay. How many of those do you drink a day?
Oh, don't ask.
That is not a judgment call.
Well, it should be because it's terrible. I do drink a lot of Pepsi Max, but they say because at the where you go to clubs here where where people want to diet and stuff, they do say that Pepsi Max you can drink as much as you want because it won't make you put any more weight on. So I used to drink a lot of Coke, so I was like, oh, this might be a good alternative, and then I got hooked on it. But I've got to stop. It's got to stop because I drink far.
Do you know what's also a good alternative?
Water.
Water. You're 80% water, Ben.
It's bland though, isn't it?
Put a slice of lemon in it. Yeah, a little squirt of citrus or something.
It's too much trouble to put a slice of lemon in now. Do you know what I mean?
All right. Anyhow, let's say hi to some people, shall we? So
yes, let's.
We have Lisa, Kindness and Light.
Hi, Lisa.
Smudged. Okay, settled and smudged. We'll be talking about that. Hershey is here. Hello, Hershey.
Hey, Hershey.
Red Wing. Good to see you.
Hey, Red Wing.
And Pia's Life. Hi, Pia.
Hi, Pia.
And Scorpio Mama.
Hey,
Sabrina,
Scorpio.
I believe. Teresa.
Teresa.
Haydaran. Ooh, sorry if I butchered your name, Teresa. And Thomas, Tarot Your Way, who is this just in. Actually, not just in. I've been talking about it. Thomas is going to be on my channel for a Tarot the Stash Way. We're going to be talking about reversals.
Oh, interesting. I love reversals.
So we'll just put it this way. Everybody needs to like and subscribe because then that way they can be notified when we go live. Esther G is here. Hello.
Hi, Esther. Hi, Thomas.
Thomas is saying hi. Hypnocity is here.
Hello.
Linda Kelzer.
Hi, Linda.
And ooh, look. April's here.
Hello. I haven't seen you for ages.
Lovely to see you. Backyard Naturalist Tarot. Medium Betsy Palmer is here.
Oh.
And for those of you who watched yesterday, thank you. Wasn't that a lovely conversation? We're back and forth. Betsy was asking the questions. It was so wonderful.
Oh.
So wonderful. I agree. Purple Elephant Deb H, who is scheduled to come on my channel twice the first week in May. Yes.
I love Deb.
Teacher Barbara is here. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Barbara.
And it is a green.
Fabulous.
It's green. And yes, Ben and I did not coordinate our time. Really good.
We didn't, did we?
Tortoiseshell Moon, Kathy is here.
Kathy.
This should be an interesting discussion. We're hoping. We actually have an outline of things, and we both have notes. Actually, Chris sent me his notes as well. So
I'm so excited for this though, Gerald. I mean, can we not? We've got to say how excited I am, because how long have I been asking you for this live?
Over a year and a half. I
Yeah.
mean, like
Him.
every so often, he's like going, maybe, we could do this. I think you should host it. I'm really interested in them. We should host it, but we'll get to that. Speaking of Richie, Longman Tarot, I am a guest on Longman Tarot Friday, and because we're talking about Kiro Marchetti decks, so that should be very nice. Callie Healer, brand new subscriber, is here. Just catching up. Beth Aspasia Rising is here. Hello. And Serena, I got it. Yay. Minor, small things make me excited. Linda De Gonzalez is here.
Hi, Linda.
And reversals. You do reversals. Oh, look who's here. Kelly does Cat's Wellness. And
Kelly.
I am, and there's a silly casual on Monday. And Ben and Richie are also on.
You have to give her power.
You have to give her power.
You have to point at the screen, because that helps, Kelly.
Kelly. Oh, wait a minute. Here. Let me give her power with, I have this. Let me give her double the power. Ooh, there you go.
I love it. Oh, you're brilliant. She'll be well zhuzhed up when we see it.
Well, there you go. Well, Kelly doesn't know. I've been sending her all sorts of good, positive energy. Oh. So, all right. Kelly does say hello to everyone. Let's see. Got that. Maybe. There we go. Okay. Yesterday's live was very nice. Thank you. So, love it. Everybody's saying hi. Okay. Gerald's shirt matches Ben's chair. Ben's shirt matches Gerald's back. Dang. And this is what just happened.
I love it.
So, Hypnocity, we're actually not doing readings today. I think it was him, was it? I don't know, but so, okay. So in sync, there we go. Ooh, we have our first work lurker, which is where'd it go? There you go.
It's Debbie.
She's actually commuting home lurking. I should just lurk for lurking. Received and back at you. So great. Lisa is here. Hello, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you.
When I see that thumb on screen, I think, boop, there you go. There you go. Oh, there you go. Thank you. It was so much fun, Callie Healer. And, let me know if you want to come on and you want to ask the questions for a next back and forth with Jamie and Gerald. I mean, unless you're weirdo. If you're weirdo, we need to rush and get that one done. So anyhow, okay. So we are here to talk about, everybody, please make sure you like and subscribe, ring the bell, give it a thumbs up. It does help. We're having, this is a laugh and learn and a magic tool talk about spirit boards. And please note, I said a respectful conversation.
Yeah.
Because spirit boards, also known as Ouija boards, are not for everyone. If they're not for you, then don't watch or sit back and learn and open your mind and enjoy that. And I think it's one of those things, in particular, the idea of this, oh my gosh, I just moved all of my stuff on my board. It's like, it's a tool.
Yeah.
And as we learn and we grow, we use tools in our life.
Yeah.
I started to write with a pencil, and then I went to a pen and all of that. So with magic, it's the same thing. If it works for you, great.
Yeah.
And we're here to learn. So, and I love that. I will get off of my soapbox now because, but
That's new.
yeah, oh yes, you haven't
I've
seen,
not seen that.
you've not seen the soapbox, and look how big it is. Look how big that
I love
soapbox
it.
is. But
It's so
but
you.
you know, um, it's just like with everything. We take. I like to think of. I think it's a good idea to get a sampling of different tools and
Yeah.
like careers.
Yes.
It
Yes.
just to see what it's like and what works for you does can work for you. If it doesn't work for you, that's okay. So,
Yeah.
oh, Rosie is sleep lurking,
Oh.
and there's another work lurker. I was
Hello,
just reading
Regina.
earlier. Um, well, I hope you're not disappointed. Kristen Louise is here, so
Hi, Kristen.
um, okay, so I'm going to do that. And so, Ben, this is where your excitement is. Why are we talking about spirit boards?
Yes, I've been so excited about this, guys, because it was actually when I started a channel, I always used to put tarot and Ouija boards in my head in a similar thing because for me, when I was a kid growing up, I felt the magic was in tarot cards. The real magic was in tarot cards, and the real magic was in Ouija boards because I used to think, well, spirit boards, because I used to think that, wow, when someone first told me about spirit boards, I was like, do you really put your hand on a pointer and it moves and answers questions? And to me, that was just, it sounded fascinating and magical. So I grew up as a kid, I had a go on them and stuff. And then when I started Tarot Tube, I started talking to different people about if they'd use them. And Gerald was one of them. And I have hounded him ever since to do this. And I was like, Gerald, we need to do one. And I don't remember why we didn't do it early on, but I think it was just because we weren't sure about what we were going to discuss properly, were we?
I remember why is because it was just before Halloween. It's toward the end
Yes,
of
it was.
October. And I'm like going, I'm not ready. I mean, because everybody was talking
Mm,
about them. To be honest with you, it was me. I wasn't ready to talk about them because
yeah,
there's so much energy around them, so
yeah,
much negative press, so much
yeah,
misinformation. And I needed a little bit of time for some research, which
yeah,
is an important aspect is when you're learning something. My high priestess said this: if somebody tells you to don't read a book,
yeah,
that's the first book you read to figure out why they told you not to read it.
yeah, yeah,
So and I think it's helpful. And so I want to catch up a little bit and chat because Kristen
yeah.
Louise said I have a spirit board. Last time I used it about a year ago, it spelled out a name. I haven't used it since.
Mm,
Okay. And we're going to talk about some suggestions for best practices.
yeah,
And what do they call it? Your mileage may vary
yeah.
with it. And Linda said that don't blame you, Kristen Lee. They honestly scare me. That's why I'm here to learn. Linda, that is wonderful. And you're never going to hear me say you need to use them.
No,
Nope,
it's
not going to
personal
say it.
choice, isn't it?
Yes. And oh, April said I've been silent work lurker a lot lately, Gerlod, which is fine because that's what Kelly's husband calls me. But your literal soapbox frequently cracks me up. Cool, I get it. You're right. So, um, so okay, so we're also talking about. I'm calling them spirit boards because Ouija is a copyrighted term.
Yeah,
We can call them Ouija boards.
yeah,
That's fine. But it's copyright and it lumps things together differently because there's different types of boards,
yeah.
spirit boards. So I just have called them spirit boards. So
And actually, Joel, there's a lot of negative connotations with the word Ouija, I think.
of course,
Whereas if you talk to someone, I don't know, it seems negative, doesn't it, the word Ouija?
of course.
Just because of things, the films and things that come out with it, and it's
Yeah.
just interesting.
Well, and there's let's face it, it's the thing that in movies we see kids doing it on for fun on a
Yeah.
sleepover and all of that stuff. So here you go. Kleenex or tissue, you still blow your nose with it. Yes.
True.
So, and Hershey said, I've been using door boards and other boards since I was a kid. I actually love using as a tool. That is great. That is
Yeah.
great. So, all right. Okay. So there's good stuff in chat. And so let me make sure. So that's why I'm calling them spirit boards.
Yeah.
And there's a lot available. If you were to go on Etsy and you were to search either spirit boards or Ouija boards, that's how people are marketing them. That's because that's how most of us know them.
Yeah.
Um,
Or talking boards is another name.
what one?
Talking boards.
Talking board, yes.
Yeah. And
yes.
actually, Gerald, I think there is a museum of talking boards in America, which is an organization that talks about Ouija boards and use of them and stuff. It's like I don't know whether it's a fan base or an information base. I don't know, but that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. That really is. Okay. And I have used them in the past before I knew what I was doing. I much more prepared. I haven't used one in decades, but I feel confident that I would be more in control. Yeah. Yeah, what you seek, you will find. Absolutely. I think I've missed some other chat. So my apologies. And Betsy said they're all good for me. Most of you know I have a benevolent uncle in my board when I was young. I believe you find what you are looking for with all things.
I agree there, Betsy. Yeah.
And that's going to be one of the tips that I suggest is pendulum board. Yeah, pendulum boards are also. So I'm going to just getting caught up. So I'm going to take a sip. This is exciting.
Me too. I'm excited.
Ben has been waiting for this for a year and a half. He's not talking really fast. I can't believe
it. I know. I'm just like, I can't believe this is happening, Gerald. Am I dreaming?
So I'm here to disappoint you, right? So let's just talk about what is a spirit board. How do you define a spirit board, Ben?
So spirit boards are kind of what they call automatic writing. Now, this goes back hundreds and hundreds of years. And automatic writing is when we do something, it's a tool that we use that we don't consciously move ourselves. And automatic writing can be in the form of like some people that hold a pen and they don't consciously write, but they make movements with their hands that they don't feel they're making. And years ago, they used to have things called they're called planchettes, where they used to put a pen in the top and it would write for them, and that's automatic writing. Eventually, that developed into a spirit board where they had the pointer, the planchette, and the board. And it would be a case of just placing your hand, which is what Gerald's showing now.
Yeah, this is the planchette. This is from a Ouija.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, literally, it has the U.S. Patent Office information on it. Now, what I have done, and this is a best practice, is normally you would actually have a clear thing with a pen in it.
Yeah.
But that can be confusing. Yeah. Because are you using the pointer for the information, or are you forcing it to go here? So my best practice, or the practice that I use, is I cover it with a bay leaf, and so that I know that I'm using the pointer.
Yeah, it's interesting because some planchettes don't have the little circle in the circle, do they? Right. At all? It's literally just the. But correct. I have to say, on the board that I use, I do use that the thing for me. Yep. But everybody's different, aren't they? You know.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, essentially, a spirit board is a board with letters of the alphabet, numbers on, yes and no at the top usually, and a goodbye. and it spells out, you ask a question, place your hands on the pointer, and then the pointer moves and spells out answers.
Mhm. Yes. And Chris Yao, bless him. If you're here, Chris, join us. Said before boards, spiritualists would write letters and numbers on pieces of paper and fan them out on a table and use an upside down glass as a planchette. I think someone said sold a pack of cards with the letters and
Yeah.
numbers on them for this purpose at some point before Ouija board itself was made. And
Well, if anybody's ever seen Amityville 3 with Meg Ryan in it, they do that. They get letters in a fan and they use a glass. So yeah, that's how they can do it as well.
So, yeah, and the bay leaf is one of those things that it just helps to focus. So I'm gonna get caught up in chat. And Hershey said it depends on how I'm using the tool. If I'm using them with a ghost, then it is using to locate something or someone for a message, or and subconscious for myself, I guess. Okay, yes, that's a great use. Yes, there is big energy about this. So,
Yeah.
and Beth did say there's a museum in the San Francisco airport that has talking boards.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, the portal blocker, and so on the Spirit Board site it says Terminal 2 departures level 3. LOL mysterious. Love that. That's fun. So okay, so what is the Spirit Board? Making sure we've got all of our good information shared.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically it's you need. Now, some of the examples that we will share have different boards. So you need a board and you need something to indicate the information that you're taking.
Yeah.
And that's something, that information could be a planchette, could be a glass, could be a pendulum, could be lots of different things.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And can I just say as well, Gerald, I think Ouija boards, they've always come back a little bit, because when I first got into them, I think in about the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, you'd go to a shop in our country and you wouldn't see Ouija board at all. I mean, I know in the US they had them in Toys R Us, didn't they? Is it Toys R Us there? Did you have Toys
Yes.
R Us?
Yes.
I had to think then. You could go to a toy shop in America and they'd have them marketed as a toy. Here, I almost thought at one point they were banned here, but I don't think they were ever banned. But they never sold them in toy shops here. Definitely not. But in America, they seemed more readily available than they did here. You couldn't get them on Amazon here. Whereas now that's very different. You only have to put that into Amazon, you can buy one.
Sure.
eBay was actually the first place I could ever find one.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Back in the early days, yeah.
Yeah. Betsy said, I've broken out into a sweat. It's good excitement.
Oh.
I'm having Jeffrey light some more incense. So, and here you go, Ben. Did you ask Gerald if he's seen Amityville?
I already know the answer to that, Tony. I think it's a no. No.
I have seen the original Amityville, and
But he hasn't seen the third one.
I didn't need to see the third one. I actually read the book.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Did the Charm TV show use them?
Yes, they did, Hypnicity. I think they've got like an inscription on the back of theirs. But yeah, it was in Charmed. There's quite a few films it's been used in, actually.
Yeah. And oh, here you go. I just drew them on a piece of paper and used clear deodorant lids. Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay. So my experiences is, I knew of them growing up, never had any success using them, never really was pulled to use them. And in my coven, we do use them. I've taken several classes on how to use them properly. And it is basically a communication tool.
Yeah.
And some of the structures that we have in place are you do certain things, and we'll talk about those toward the end as we come up with best practices.
Yeah.
So, but, and okay. I just looked up talking boards on Etsy. Wow, boards have really changed since the toy shop selection. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you were sharing a little bit your experience. You've had positive experiences and experiences that were not so positive.
I've had both. Yeah. I mean, when I was very young, me and my friend were very interested in it, and I guess at first we didn't take it too seriously. It was just the excitement of it. Oh, let's see what we can do. I didn't
Uh-huh.
follow any rules. We'd put our hands on it and we just asked questions.
Mhm.
And it answered. There was answers, but me and my friend used it over a long period of time.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, we did have some strange experiences. I wouldn't. There was just one particular experience that I was a little bit. Oh, this has gone a bit AWOL. Do you want me to tell you about that? Shall I
If you can do it quickly.
Yeah. So the worst experience I ever had was we were playing with the board, and the energy on the board was just going very fast. It was going round and round in circles to the point where our fingers were slipping off the pointer.
Mhm.
And it then started to spell out obscenities. And we were like, okay, I don't think this is very good. So we just shoved it to goodbye and took our hands off it. Um, but I think that her neighbour, who used to come round and play it with us, said that they woke up in the middle of the night and there was somebody sitting on the edge of their bed. So that kind of scared us a little bit. But I
Sure.
think the most interesting experience I had was we went round to my friend's neighbour's house and we were playing on the board, and her mum apparently came through and she wasn't even touching the board, but we asked questions and it answered all these questions correct about her mum. But the doors to this room all of a sudden opened and we got a cold blast of air
Sure.
and like a wind, and that was the most paranormal experience of a Ouija board I ever had, because it
Mhm.
was like, wow, I felt something. It was strange, but I haven't had that was only the worst experience where it was just going around really fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
Well,
yeah.
and yeah, that's but it has your interest has remained in them.
Yeah, I mean, it scared me at times, but
Of
then I've always
course.
just been fascinated. I've never had, like, you hear all these terrible stories. um I can't say it's not been that bad, I've never felt like someone is hanging around afterwards, if you know what I mean. I've been
Yeah.
scared that there might be somebody hanging around because people say, oh, once you open
Sure.
that door you can't close it. But as I went on with my experiences, I did learn to do certain things before I did a session on a Ouija board, and I think that helped with my experiences because I didn't have as many experiences that were bad, if you know what I mean,
Mhm.
because I
Yeah.
prepared, shall we say, me and
Sure.
my friend did. And
So you've
kind of,
learned. You learned.
yeah. And the other thing, it's so important, I mean, that you have someone who's serious about it, because as a kid, as a teenager, you just want to play, you just want to have fun, you want to have a laugh.
Oh,
But it's
sure.
just such the wrong way to go about using a Ouija board, that is, because you attract whatever you
Well,
want from
yeah.
it, I think.
It is one way to use the spirit board.
Yeah.
We'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay. So let's show some people examples of spirit boards
Yeah.
so that they can see. And this is a Ouija board, and Ouija is means, I believe, yes, yes.
Yes, it's yes, yes in so the we is yes in French and ja is we in German. It is yes in
So
German.
this is pretty much the standard, and this is a Parker Brothers, and
Yours is the 1972 version, isn't it?
I was just going to look at that because I figured you were going to ask that. 1972, yes, pronounced Ouija or Ouija,
Yeah.
and so it's called a mystifying oracle. And so there's how to use it,
Yeah.
and it's like there's 6 things that you're supposed to do. So don't store in a damp place. This is the one that most people know, and I picked this up from a used bookstore.
Oh, so you haven't had it since the 70s?
No, I have not had it since the 70s, before you were born.
Oh, yeah.
But okay. So, do you have one you want to show?
Yes, so it's similar to yours, Gerald, but this is kind of like the new one, and yours is actually a lot bigger than mine.
And it's even bigger next to Tiny Hands.
Exactly, folks. You heard it here first. This is actually the new one that was brought out by Hasbro. The one that Gerald had was actually brought out by Parker Brothers,
Yes,
and they
that's
continued up until about 98 or the early 2000s. But yeah, this is the latest version, and they've gone. This is like a vintage old one, same as Gerald's, but it's actually smaller than yours. And I actually prefer the bigger ones because, you know, there's more. It's easier in it with the bigger ones because there's more space to maneuver on it. Boards, that is. So yeah,
just moving the energy around. So
yeah, but that's the most popular one I think that people know, and this is the one that you could get in toy shops, and in fact you can still get this in the toy shop today in America. Not so much in this country, but you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah. Beth is recognizing my Scorpio witch face. You know, love Gerald's face when Ben said, "You open that door, you can't close it." Really cool. So, Lisa said I was 14 when started to use one, I guess.
I think I was about that age.
Yeah. Betsy had a 70s version, and because, you know, here's an example of a spirit board, which is the Stranger Things, and it is a Hasbro Netflix gaming, and I'll show this because again, this is you know, one of the things that's interesting is because basically all you need are the letters, the numbers, the yes, no, hello, goodbye, and this is the planchette. So you know, everything can have a bit of a oh, here's the back. How's that?
Oh wow, I like that.
So, but
I mean, years ago, Gerald, you could only get this one in the shops, couldn't you? I never saw, but now it's more. They do a lot more now.
Read this out, Ben.
Thank you, Pamela. Oh, that's lovely.
So, and and Candy Soul and Soil is here. Hello, Candy.
Hi, Candy.
Good to see you. OMG, I started watching Stranger Things this month. I've never loved a show more. It's so good.
Gerald, are you watching it?
Yeah, of course.
Where's my fan? I need my fan.
Geez. Yeah, I love it. Where's your fan, Ben? So, I love it. I love it too. Okay, you have another sample.
I do. So this was the very first one I ever got, but this I've rebought it back, so it's not the original one that I used back in the day. But it was called the Psychic Circle.
Yes.
And my parents would never let me have a Ouija board, so I kind of got round it by saying, "Oh, this looks really happy and nice. It's called the Psychic Circle, and it doesn't look like a Ouija board, even though it is." But yes, could I have that? And then they relented and let me buy this. And I just thought this was just looked different to me, and it looked happier. And there was a guidebook with it that explained things really well. There's also a prayer that you say in the guidebook, and it seemed a lot more.
I'm going to embiggen myself so that
pick
that up.
And there's a lot more information on this, as you can see. It's not just letters and numbers, isn't it?
Yeah, when I was taking the class, we had an opportunity. There were multiple cards or multiple decks, boards to be able to use, and just to see which one worked for us. And you know, there are words.
Yeah.
And yes. So images and astrological symbols. And this, to be honest with you, I felt really good using this one.
Yeah, I did, Gerald. That had a good vibe to me.
Yeah. And this is by Amy Zerner and Monty Farber.
And
So,
can I just say, I love their planchette with this because it's actually a little circle.
yes.
And I really like that.
Yes. And I like it too. I'm taking my planchette out because if I use two of the planchettes, it's like, it's like my eyeballs. So
Yeah.
I have owl eyes. But the key thing is whatever you're using to indicate it needs to slide comfortably on the board.
Yes.
Or on
And the
the
only problem,
surface.
I don't know if you found with that one though, because it's folded, sometimes it didn't slide very well over the grooves.
Yes.
Which was a bit annoying, but it
That's
still
my
worked.
thing. And this one does come with a great booklet. So this is really good. This is 1993, and this edition was 2002. So,
And I think the difference between those two that we've just shown is that the Psychic Circle was more marketed as a tool, whereas the Ouija was more marketed as a game.
As a game, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can definitely tell the difference because of the guidebook with the Psychic Circle is much more, involved, isn't it?
Okay. Okay. Getting caught up in chat because I have the best chatters. So, okay. So, getting caught up. Love it. Okay.
Wow,
Not ruining things. Yes, I have TV. I have the Stranger Things deck as well. And it's great candy. It's all good. Yep. Summer of Fear. I just finished watching Astrid and Lily Save the World. Okay. This board looks more inviting than the original Ouija board.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and that's the thing. And only seen photos of it. It's really good. And like Ben said, the one thing that's wrong with it is since it folds, it's not smooth.
Yeah.
Isn't there a new deck out on Trees with Spirit Board recently released? I don't know. I don't know. Beth said, I must have had one of the first runs of the Parker Brothers Ouija board because I started in middle school in the late 60s. No, okay.
Yeah.
So Nancy Jean's Garden is a similar science. I believe so. Nancy Jean does some wonderful stuff with the board and crystals. So it's really cool. Candy said they frighten me a bit. Somebody convinced me they are okay. Stay tuned or watch the playback because we're talking about some best tips.
Yeah.
So, okay. Beth said Ouija was originally patented in 1891 and the rights were acquired by Parker Brothers in 1966, transferred to Hasbro in 1991. So, does anyone have a pendulum board? Well, actually, interesting you should say that because I have the Truth Fairy, also by Amy Zerner and Monty Farber, and it does come with a pendulum. And what I actually use a regular Ouija board with a pendulum. So that's how I will do it. But this one also comes with a great resource. But it has small little boards.
Yeah.
And on them, there's yes, there's no. There's different timing stuff. So you can't really see them, but they're a similar format, but they also have on the back of the little sheets some information. So this one may be a bit more accessible for people.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to practice and learn how to use a pendulum. And this one comes with a CD of music.
Oh, that's different. It's a full experience, isn't it?
I wonder if you could use a CD as a... So,
That's an
but so
interactive experience.
yes. So there's a lot of good stuff around around that opportunities. So okay. And so Callie Healer, I actually use a pendulum with my board. That's how I do it. Um, okay, Candy, consider it like your front door. If you don't want to yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I haven't touched one since middle school. They made me nervous since I heard so many people. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. And so we're trying to. I hope that what we're doing is, Ben's the one being saucy. Yep. I hope it's something just to help provide some information. This is a laugh and learn. We're learning together.
Yeah. Hi,
Hi, Rob.
Robin.
And Robin said, my grandmother bought us kids a Ouija board 1 year for Christmas. It was simply a game, curiosity. Yeah, definitely. And yep, there you go. Okay, I feel the same way. Candy, the boards are wide open, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to mark that.
Yeah.
I looked it up on Amazon. One review is that it works for intended purposes. So I don't want to say it's a bad product. It works well, but I bought it over a decade ago, one of two, and so I burned it, tossed it into the lake, and threw it out 100 times, but it keeps coming back. So
there's a lot of myths around them, isn't there?
There really are a lot of myths.
Yeah.
And so
one I heard, Gerald, just talking about myths, was someone said, "Oh, when you chuck it in the fire, if you chuck it in the fire, it screams at you." I mean, that sounds like something of Harry Potter to me.
Yeah. And by the way, Candy is still here, covered in ink, so she is in her complete element. Covered in ink is a good thing. So, for Candy. So, okay. Discernment is a handy tool. Always respect the magic. Yes.
Yeah.
And if the magic doesn't work for you, or you don't get along with the magic, then don't do it.
Yeah.
So, okay. Trying to move me along. We've really talked about the history a little bit. Anything you want to add to that? And then we have popular culture, and then we have best practices, which is where I'd like to spend a lot of time.
Yeah. So, just a brief history, I guess, is just that, I mean, I've got my notes, Gerald. Can I just read very quickly?
Of course.
The notes? So, one of the first mentions of automatic writing, so not Ouija boards as such, but the method that Ouija boards is used is found in China around 1100 AD.
Wow.
So that you can see how long ago it was. But as part of the spiritualist movement, mediums began to employ various means for communication with the dead. Following the American Civil War in the United States, mediums did significant business in allegedly allowing survivors to contact lost relatives. The Ouija itself was created and named in Baltimore, Maryland in 1890.
There you go.
But the use of talking boards was as early as 1886. So the use of what we see today as the Ouija board was actually 1800s that came about. But the method of automatic writing obviously was pre that. And then the name Ouija, so an employer of Elijah Bond, William Flood, took over the talking board production, and in 1901, is it Fold? William Fold? Is it? I don't know if I've got the name right. Started production of his own boards under the name Ouija, and it's claimed that the name Ouija actually came from the board itself. So they asked, "What should we call the product?" And the product said Ouija. It's claimed that the name Ouija came from using the board, and it was an ancient Egyptian word meaning good luck. He popularized that though more widely, as it was accepted that the name came from a combination of the French and German words for yes, which we've already spoke about. Throughout the early 20th century, Ouija boards were viewed as an entertaining yet harmless parlor game. Originally, they were not associated with occult practices, but when it did become associated, it fell from grace into a fearful world of negative designations. It's not uncommon for most people to view the board as negative.
Yeah. And definitely part of this spiritualist movement. There's a
Yeah.
lot of that. So, but yeah. Um, okay. I mean, that's a lot. And you can do some searching. What's the person's name that you really like? Karen Dolman
Yes.
on YouTube?
She's got a wonderful YouTube channel and she's wrote a book. Can I just show the book, Gerald?
Yes, please. Please.
Um,
Yes, Robin, table tipping and tapping is all part of that. Twisted Sushi is here. Hello.
she's got a YouTube channel, but going back to what Candy was saying, you know, have a look at this person, Candy, on YouTube.
I'm going to put you right there so that that's bigger.
Karen A. Dolman. She's got her own YouTube channel and she talks about the positive experiences of using Ouija board and she sees it in a completely different way. And she talks about the hype and everything. And she did this book, which is really interesting.
What's the
You know,
name of that book?
and this is called The Spirits of Ouija. And she's been using it for 4 decades. So she's got a lot of experience and stuff like that. But it's a fascinating read, and it's just like, you know, it's how you come to the board, I think, as well. I mean, if you're nervous and worried and scared about it, I think you attract that, which is why people tend to have bad experiences.
Yeah. I put that up there. So purchase responsibly, know your limits.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, light as a feather, stiff as a board. It's what you did at sleepovers.
Yes.
So, and okay. So okay, wait a minute. Okay. Here we go. So popular culture. This is Ben when he, loves this from a popular culture standpoint.
I'm so excited.
I mean, and the first, I mean, okay. Are you ready, Tony? The first thing that Ben wrote down is the movie Exorcist in the early 1970s. And do you remember the name that Reagan used for the Ouija board?
Oh yes, Captain Howdy.
Yep.
Was it Captain Howdy?
Yep.
She was communicating with Captain Howdy, which turned out to be the demon, didn't it, in the film?
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because up until that point, people did just see Ouija boards as like a game for kids that they'd go and buy at a store. And then, of course, that film came out, scared a lot of people back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And because a Ouija board was featured in it, it was seen that Ouija boards were very dangerous.
Yes.
And, you know, I think with The Exorcist, the church got involved because there was a lot of it scared a lot of people. So then they had
what?
they had an opinion then on Ouija boards and things like that. And then, of course, as the years went on, Ouija boards were thought of in a negative light, and they were featured in a lot of horror films in the 80s. They were featured in a trilogy of films called Witchboard, which I love. It's one of my favorite films. Have you seen it, Gerald? If you haven't, I will send it you.
I haven't.
You have to see it.
Yeah.
It's very cheesy 80s, but it's brilliant. But and most recently, they've done a series of films literally called Ouija. I think to popularize the game boards now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's had a bad press because of Hollywood films and stuff, really. And I think that's where most negative things come from.
Yeah, and when anybody is using them, they're seen as bad. So
yeah.
Well, Witchboard like Switchboard. Well, it could be because that's part of what you're doing, and depends upon the tool.
Yeah.
So, and there's you had mentioned also there's a whole lot of references in books. I don't want to go through all of those.
No, there is. Yeah, so people throughout the years have actually consulted Ouija boards and wrote books from the consultations they've had with Ouija boards. So there's quite a few people. One lady called, oh God, I can't remember her name, Jane Roberts, wrote a series of books called Seth Speaks, and she originally contacted this entity called Seth through the Ouija board.
Oh,
but then
okay,
Seth, yeah, and then he ended up speaking through Jane, and she just dictated what Seth said through Jane, but it all started with a Ouija board, and there's been a lot of examples of people who have wrote books following use of Ouija boards with fascinating information. you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. And Chris, unfortunately is not here. But one of the things that Chris said is spirit contact is never a game. For my money, that's one reason for so many bad experiences. A layperson doesn't pick up an exorcist copy of the Roman ritual and dabble with it
Yeah,
for shits and grins. So,
it's true.
but wrap it in a box, put it on a shelf, sell it as a game, and watch the madness commence.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so true. It's so true. So,
But can I mention as well, Gerald, that although there is all this that, you know, people think it's contacting spirits, there's also a scientific explanation for it as
hmm
well. Which I'll just mention this because this is also interesting because they've done experiments. So the Ouija phenomena is considered by the scientific community to be the result of the eidometer response. This is a phenomena, it's a psychological phenomena wherein a subject makes motions unconsciously. So they've done various studies on this in labs and stuff under certain conditions, and it's found that the subjects were moving the planchette involuntary. Um, However, I believe that yes, perhaps you do move it involuntary, but it you are receiving something.
hmm
So it's interesting how people use the Ouija board. It doesn't explain why certain messages come through that you couldn't possibly know. Um,
Sure.
you know, um,
Sure.
and I go back to that time I had that experience with my friend's neighbour. We knew nothing about her mom, and it was telling her age, her date of birth, when she died.
Sure.
There's no
Yeah.
way we could have known that. So
Right.
I think science and, you know, there's arguments for both, isn't there?
Well, okay. Science is real. Magic is real.
Yeah.
Isn't science magic?
Magic,
And is
yeah,
magic science? I mean, there's so much possibility.
yeah.
And by the way, Jane the Seeker is here,
Hey,
landed
Jane.
in California, and all is well. Good. Take a nap. Take a nap. Oh, Wayne Rich is here. Hi, Wayne.
Hi, Wayne.
Good to see you. Okay, so we're now going to talk about best practices.
Yeah,
And something about best practices that I want to bring up is I think it's important to, okay, here's my example is let's say it's the middle of winter, it's 10 below, or it's negative 10, however you want to say it, and you're bringing something in, you bring in your shopping in, and you open the door and you walk in, and then you set what you brought, what you were bringing in, you set it down, then you put it all away, and then you're going to go into the other room because you're done. Do
yeah,
you leave the door open or do you close it?
yeah. You closed it.
So I think one of the key things is that if you are setting up some contact, if you believe that that's what happens, prepare, and then when you're done, make sure you finish it, you end it, you power off your computer, you put the game away, you say thank you, and then you release.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, so, but I mean, okay, so yeah, there you go. That was my soapbox. If you
No,
open a door, close it.
yeah,
Make sure that when you're opening the door, you know the proper door.
yeah,
Look for the signs. Get a map.
yeah.
So, yeah, put
Totally
your
agree with
tools
that.
away. Put your tools away.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so
So,
true, Gerald, about that
thank you.
opening and closing doors. Because I do think, when you go to Ridgewood, there is a sense that you're opening something up, whether that's in your mind or elsewhere, and it is important to close that door, whether that be by saying verbally goodbye, closing the session. And I think one of the things I used to do was we'd set the session up and we'd say, we'd set an intention and prayer first
hmm
off to say what we wanted to bring in,
Yep.
what we didn't want to bring in, and a warning to say if there is anything on the board that starts talking negatively, then we close the session down and we start again. But it's also important to close the session, you know, and say a prayer after as well. And one of the things that I came across, which I thought was really interesting, if ever you do use one and you have a bad experience, just say goodbye and then wipe the board with a cloth to
So
wipe
what
the
you're
energy
saying
away.
is cleanse the tool and
Yeah.
then put it away?
Yeah. And start again another day.
There's a laugh and learn and a magic tool talk about bay leaves, cleansing, setting boundaries. Medium Betsy Palmer and I talked about that. Those are all things that you could bring in. So, and Tony surrounding it under the stairs, apparently.
Tony.
At the Catholic school surrounded.
Really?
So, and oh, I love it. Joan B said, "Do you live in a barn? Close the door." So
I love it.
When we do a shamanic circle, we welcome in safe spirits and thank
Yeah.
and release them when we're done. It's the same thing as cast in a circle.
Yeah.
You sweep, you banish, you purify, charge, and you cast.
And
so
it's always like, I always think you treat it with respect, like you would, you know, if you're having a conversation with a normal person, you treat them with respect. It's the same thing, isn't it? You treat it how you'd want to be treated, I always think.
Well, I treat it to make sure that everything knows that I'm in charge.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's right, Gerald, definitely.
Beth, did we sort of hit on that? Are we going to talk about how to go about that? Black salt, obsidian, what? So, yeah. And Betsy is agreeing with you.
Yeah.
So,
oh, thank you, Betsy.
So, and okay. I never welcome all spirits. I specify. I specifically request only inviting and friendly and loving. Yes.
Yeah. So true, Robin.
That said, when we were young, we didn't know what the F we were doing. If we did it now, I would take more precautions.
And I think that's a very important point, because when you are young, this is very exciting to young people. And yes, right. That's a good point. I think this is very exciting to young people. And of course, they want to experience these things, but I do think it's something that you need to treat with a bit more respect.
Okay. And Beth said we answered. And Medium Betsy Palmer said, love that you said that. Respect. You said respect. Yeah. Well, and the other thing is only use the board if you're serious about it. I mean, because whatever your intention is what's going to come through.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, definitely. and it's just a tool. Treat it with respect.
Yeah.
So, and I think one of the notes that I have is, and I talked about it with the planchette. Let's see if I can get it again. With the planchette is you need to make it easy for you to get clarity. And, I cover this so that it's there. So I use the pointer.
Yeah.
If I don't use a pendulum, oftentimes I will use a pendulum. And so then the other thing is here's bay leaves. Bay leaves are about protection.
Yeah.
All of my spirit boards have a bay leaf in them with the intention of protection.
And you told me that, didn't you, actually? Because I asked you, didn't I, about what you do, and protection things you do.
So,
yeah.
And so that's a helpful thing.
And Gerald, can I ask you, because you haven't said much about what you've experienced, have you? What are your experiences?
Oh, I'm sorry. Gosh.
Yeah. No, I'm interested because I know, we've spoke about this before, but you've had experiences, haven't you? Different experiences.
I have, and like I said, we've used them. We use the spirit board to help as we're doing any of our magic workings. If we are communicating with different deity, the Fae. There's one that there's another spirit board that I can't find. It's the Raymond Buckland Spirit Board, which is one that's just Raymond Buckland. He's a tarot creator and writer, and it's really good for talking to Fae. What? It's the Romani tradition. Thank you. That was the voice of Jeffrey, or Jeffrey's voice in the background. So, and at the minute, I want closed doors here, not open ones, as there's a ton of activity on in the house again. First time in about 4 years to this extent again. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Don't leave the F alone. But so my experience has been with that, with the craft and working. And sometimes you can use tarot cards, oracle cards, those work. And sometimes you need specific information.
Yeah.
Especially with numbers. Numbers work very well with that.
I haven't used one for a very long time. Except about, gosh, it must have been about a year ago, maybe. I had a go with one. And it just came out with gobbledygook. It was just literally, it didn't make any sense. And that has happened before. So what I do with that is I put it away for a bit, and then I find that when I go back to it, it does make more sense. But have you ever used it alone, Gerald? That's what I wanted to ask you.
I use it alone with a pendulum. I don't have great luck with the planchette.
No, neither do I.
And in class, one of the things for me that energetically they work when I'm not thinking.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time shutting my brain down, and it just interferes. The flow isn't there.
Yeah. No,
the
I know
flow
what you
isn't
mean.
there. So, did I answer your question?
Yes, I was just thinking, if you've just tuned in, we're talking about planchettes.
Yes, we're talking about planchettes and spirit boards. So,
yeah. But no, that's interesting. I found that when I use it alone, it never works properly.
Yeah.
It doesn't move. So it's better when you've got someone else there.
Yeah. So, a great practice, and Ben, you had said this, have some sort of an opening prayer, something to basically create a safe space.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And, it's worth considering having someone there who knows a bit about Ouija boards and has used them before.
Absolutely.
So that you're not feeling as uptight, because I think your feelings can get involved with it sometimes. And if you're feeling anxious, there's potential for you to bring in that energy.
Yes.
So anything really that can put you at mind, your mind at rest.
Betsy brought something up and said, "Oh, gobbledygook is a different language. I often must ask guides to use English first of their native tongue." That is something that we do. Is you ask for it in English. You can even ask for it in modern English, because sometimes the English comes across, it's a very old-fashioned.
Yeah, I never thought of that. That's really interesting, actually, Betsy.
So, by the way, Wisdom Seeker Joan is here. Hi, Joan. Good to see you. Good to see you. But so sometimes, it's as Betsy said, sometimes when I'm communicating, I have to translate, or I have to request it be in a language that I can understand.
Yeah.
So, Robin has put in here one of his favorite films, Uninvited. Communicating with the dead on a round table. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. I'm watching that. So I will try to get to that. So an opening prayer, setting intention is a very good thing. Also, I think one of the things is consider having a gatekeeper that you work with, that anything that you communicate with goes through your gatekeeper, your spirit guide, your angel.
Yeah.
And then that way there can be a sense of safety with that.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the gatekeeper, because my friend and I, when we played it a lot at one point, we had a spirit or entity come through that told us it was a gatekeeper and said that it would help us with spirits coming to the board. and said that it would tell us, and stop bad spirits coming on. And it was because we used it so often that this entity presented itself as a gatekeeper and said it would help us. Um, and I think it was connected more to my friend because this gatekeeper was always there when she was there. So I thought that was very interesting. It's interesting you just mentioned about that. So it's
Well, and
fascinating.
I think, by the way, Michelle Marie is here.
Hi,
So,
Michelle.
and so she and her Jonathan are, just finished their mantras. So, hello, Jonathan. Good to see you.
Hi, Jonathan.
Um, and I think, and okay, I'm gonna slow down and take a breath for a second. I think having a gatekeeper is a wise choice, something to help control,
Yeah,
because you never know what might come through, but you set your intentions with that gatekeeper. And sometimes gatekeepers or any deity spirit, if you offer some sort of an exchange for help,
yeah,
that could be great. It could be they want a candle lit every time you do it. Could be they want a certain kind of incense.
yeah,
One that I've worked with once, chai tea
yeah,
present, and
yeah,
it's like, okay. So,
yeah.
Robin
It's interesting.
asked, should you put crystals as gatekeepers on the corners of the board or mount them on the planchettes? You could. My hesitancy about using a crystal on the planchette is it's going to make the planchette heavier.
Yeah.
And depending upon the crystal, that could interfere. So, what do
Yeah.
you think, Ben?
Yeah, I think I've heard of people like use things like that, even like salt or something on the board, around the board
Yeah.
and things like that, protective. If you feel that something like a crystal would help, then do it because, if it makes you feel at ease, then that's great, if it helps. So I have heard of people do things like that.
Mhm. Lisa said, I assume sound healing helps protect the area before and after. Sound healing, chanting, prayers,
Yeah,
music. Yeah.
yeah.
Pierrette is here.
Okay, right.
And yes, that's a
Yeah.
gatekeeper is a spirit bouncer.
Yes, I love
Not
that,
on the
Kathy.
list, you're not getting in. Actually, Kathy, I love that.
I like that. That's so cool.
I love that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's fab.
And Beth had said I could see black salt and crystals for sure.
Yeah.
Sage, any sort of smoke cleansing would work. Okay. So, um, don't ask silly questions. You're
Yes.
serious. And just remember when you're talking to in other dimensions, time is different.
Yeah.
So if you ask, well, how long will it take? Well, it could be a short amount of time, or it could be a really long time.
Yeah.
But you need to remember to in my time period,
Yeah.
what would that be? So,
Yeah.
um,
And I always used to think as well, like, especially with teenagers when they get drunk and things like that and they use a Ouija board, never use a Ouija board when you're under the influence, of alcohol or drugs or anything like that, because, I think it's good to have a clear mind when you're using a board.
yes.
I think that's really important. Oh, I love that, Deb.
Yeah, isn't that good? Yeah, Spirit Bouncer. And this is, so that works. Yeah, Spirit
Yeah,
Bouncer is good, isn't it?
I like that name. We're all
Um,
gonna have our spirit
Michelle,
belt.
Michelle Marie said we lit a green eucalyptus mint candle as we did mantras for Mercury, Vishnu, and Narayana today. Wednesday prayers can help us, with our intellect. That's good.
Yeah,
That's good. Yeah,
yeah.
Captain Howdy.
What about the Warrens and their opinion? Oh yeah, the Warrens weren't fans of Ouija boards at all. Um, I don't think they were anyway.
Yeah, I remember the Warrens. I
Yeah.
watched the movies. So, okay, just a few more notes because we're at an hour and 10 minutes, Ben.
Wow. Wow.
This is great. And I'm just plowing through all of these best practices that we have on the list.
Yeah.
Have a scribe,
Yes.
someone
Oh,
who
so important.
can write things down and just write the letters down or the information. Because if it's a long information,
Yeah.
you're going to get 37 letters. I'm not going to remember those.
Yeah.
So, and Tony's heading to bed.
Oh, bye, Tony.
So the other thing is, I think it's important not to try to predict what is being spelled out.
Yes, absolutely, Gerald.
Let them
That
spell it out. Because if you're saying a question, if you're
yeah,
asking a question, but you're thinking of a different question, guess which
yeah,
one they're going to answer, Ben?
yeah.
What are they going to answer?
They're going to answer the one that you're thinking the most of. And the thing is, as well, Gerald, it's very interesting you say that because when you use a Ouija board alone, it's more tempting to go with what you think, isn't it? Whereas when you've got two people, it's different. And I think that's why it doesn't work so well when you're on your own, maybe
Yeah,
because you're preempting the question, the answer.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
I personally, one of the things that I have to do is I have to, before I start using a board, I have to figure out what it is that I want to know, and I
yeah,
write down my questions because I will lose track of time and my mind, and then I'm like, what was I asking? And that
yeah.
doesn't help. I want it to be an efficient exchange of energy.
And it's important as well to realize how you feel when you use the board. So if you're feeling
Yes.
depressed or down, probably not the right thing to do because you've got
Hmm.
that energy of, that low energy. And it's always good to meditate perhaps before you use a board so that you're clear
Absolutely.
minded.
Yeah. I think that's
So
beautiful. Having a clear mind, which does suggest not using it when you have been consuming things like alcohol,
yeah,
because those can change your experience. So be careful with that.
yeah,
Um, and I also think I mean, like Ben said, if you've never used them before and you know somebody has, talk to them about it, plan it.
yeah,
And if you don't like them, don't use them.
yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
so objectivity is helpful, yes. Oh, look, April's back as terror and witchery.
Hi,
So
April.
instead of seances, do readers prefer the board? Depends upon the reader.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, okay, clear mind. Being
yeah,
grounded, substances inherently make you ungrounded. Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
So you're welcome, Callie Hiller.
Oh,
That's why I can't read my own tarot card. Can't read my own tarot card readings. I never have a clear mind, and the cards know I what I really should know.
yeah.
So, okay. Are there any other best practices that you want to mention before I go back through some of the starred comments?
No, I think we've covered them all. Really important to say goodbye after you've used a Ouija board. Like we've said, close that session.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and just consider having someone at the session who has experience with using Ouija boards to keep you at ease. And don't use a Ouija board if you don't want to. No one's
Yeah.
encouraging it in this. We're just talking about them as a
Yeah.
tool, aren't we?
Absolutely. I mean, and one of the things that Chris Yao put in his notes is a little respect goes a long way when working with spirits.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's a big thing. So, I mean, but I mean, and again, if you don't like it, then don't use it.
yeah.
So, oh, you're
Mm.
welcome. Be his life. All right. So I got a bunch of starred comments.
Yeah.
And okay. And Betsy shared early on about her experience with a benevolent
Yes.
uncle. Yes.
Fascinating.
So Believe you find what you are looking for with all things. Maruda did share, what about a pendulum board? Absolutely. Those are
Yeah.
available. If pendulums are working for you, then go for it.
Yeah.
So Hershey early on shared some good experiences about the type of communication. So that's good. And so, and Pia's Life said, I've always been taught that using a board can open up portals we don't necessarily want open. We've always scared. I get that. And can that happen? Yes. Does it always happen? No.
No.
That's especially when you take precautions.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't know about you, Ben, but when I'm driving, I don't feel comfortable unless I put a seatbelt on.
Yeah. And I think that's so important with this is that, you know, with any magical tool, it's always good to have some precautions in place, you know,
Yes.
especially with Ouija boards.
Yes. Tony did share, you know, asking if there's anyone there wanting to speak to me. That brings a whole lot of stuff.
Well, someone said to me once, never say, is anybody there? Because you're opening the thing up to anybody. This is why it's so important to say what your intention is. You know, who are you intending to speak to?
Yeah. And
That's
it
a
goes
good
back to
point.
what Kathy said, you know, you're asking, you know, Tom, Dick, and Harry, spirit to answer. So,
Yeah.
you know, I get it. So, okay, answered that. Let me pop back over to the live chat. Okay. Betsy's internet just went out, dumping rain for 6 hours. Oh, gosh.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, and Beth uses pendulum a lot. And you get what you give. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, you don't need a board. You can just write down numbers and letters and all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
Hershey said, block both sides. Always had a huge difference to me. I was quiet, but I took every single thing in and hope we can do a part with Shades of Gray. Shades of Gray are really important. So, okay.
Yes, that's a good question. And yes, it is exactly the same, actually. They're all the same, really, Pirouette. They're all talking boards, just with different names. I used to have an angel board.
Okay.
And I suppose, you know, they are fluffed up in terms they are still a talking board. It's just Ouija that tends to have the bad connotations to it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Ouija boards do have the bad connotations because of how we've seen them used.
Yeah.
So, and you know, different things happen. Okay, getting caught up. Okay. I did see Angela's here, Cartomancy Mesquite, who will be on my channel first week in May. Candy did ask, in the minute I want closed doors here, not open ones, as there's a ton of activity going on in the house again. First time in about 4 years to this extent. And I think one of the cool things is to remember we're close to Beltane in the Northern Hemisphere, where a lot of Fey energy happens. And Fey energy, gosh, I should do something about Fey energy. Maybe I could have Emily Carding on. So are they causing issues is what I would be concerned. And I also think I think anytime you're using something, set some boundaries. You can say, no, this is not appropriate. You need to stop.
Yeah. And I would say to Candy as well, if you've got a Ouija board, I wouldn't use it at this time when you've got a lot of activity going on, probably, because, you know, if it's not, if it's that, I always think sometimes it can intensify it sometimes without necessarily wanting it to. So just that would be my thing there.
Allison is here. Hi. Oh, I love this. So Ouija is the guy you meet under the street light, and the angel board you introduce to your parents.
Yes.
Certainly could be. I
love that.
Yeah. And Betsy has said boundaries are a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I think boundaries also, a best practices is when you're tired, you're not going to be able to do your best work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Candy asked us to share some of our best experiences, and I think it's one of those things that I sometimes I've had some really wonderful experiences where I've gotten clarity about something that I have been curious about, and then it shows up again later.
Mm.
So it's sort of like a repeat tarot card,
Yeah.
or an angel number. Kelly talks about 1111 reminds her of her mother, and I think
Yeah.
it's one of those things that is truly truly incredible. And so I think that that's a really positive thing that I've had
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. I've lost stuff before and asked the Ouija board, and it's told me where it is, and it's been there. And that was one of the best. That was a very interesting experience. And one session I had with my friend, it asked for a kiss. And it said kiss, and we were like, "What do you mean kiss?" And it just said kiss, and it turned out it was actually someone from my friend's past who had passed away, and they were just saying hi, and they just wanted a kiss.
Oh,
So
that's pretty.
that was
That's
cute.
nice.
Yeah, it was a nice
Yeah.
energy. That was.
Yeah, magical synchronicities.
Yeah.
And I actually think, a best practice is again, it's like that thing of is you don't ask the tarot stupid questions because you're going to get
Yeah.
these
Strict
answers.
answers.
And also, if you don't ask the same question multiple time, night
Yeah.
Candy,
Can they?
and Betsy said, my uncle asked my friend and I to lift up the planchette and he would lead us around the house. If we went
Oh,
outdoors,
wow.
we lost connection. Interesting. And
Wow.
hugs to the kiddies.
Yes.
So, and Blushing Nerd Tarot, Brian is here.
Oh, hi, Brian.
Good to see you. But I think it's one of those things that don't ask the same question, because it's like with tarot. A good question is an important thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a lot of the work is how do you ask the question?
Yeah.
And so depending upon um, with whom you're talking, with whom you're talking, they may not understand what we're asking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to get some clarity. Oh gosh, there's some fake convo.
I just saw that and I thought the same actually, Kathy, because Gerald, you're very interesting about this because we had a conversation about a friend of mine, didn't we, who was having some trouble. And it was exactly what you were.
Oh.
You really helped with that. So, because she mentioned that to me the other day, actually. And I'd love to hear more about your experiences with the Fae as well. So, sorry.
Well, if anybody has experience with the Fae, also send me an email, because I'm, with the Magic Tool Talk and the Laugh and Learns, I'm not a know-it-all. I'm just I like to think I'm a host. I'm a good host. So Callie Healer would like that as well. So I was going to mention, oh, okay, here it is. Hold on. Hypnocity asked, can you use a board as a form of meditation? Hypnocity, are you still here? Because I'm curious about that. I mean,
I'm not sure how you'd use the board.
I don't know. I don't know. I'd love to find out if other people have used it that way, because I think Hypnocity is here. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you mean? Because yes, you can use a tarot card. You can pull a tarot card, and you have the image that you can pull in. So,
Gerald, I'll be right back. I've just got to check something.
okay.
Hang on a second.
And oh yeah, Wayne is like going, you're the chairman of the board. That's a good one. So love that. So, but I wondered, has anybody else used has anyone been able to use the board as a meditation tool? So, while Ben has stepped away, everybody please like and subscribe. Give it a thumbs up so that we can do that. Oh, wandering thoughts. You could also is if you do, I would say, Hypnocity, if you were doing some work and you had an angel or a guide that you work with, and you could request, a word. Oh, and I see you said automatic writing is probably more accurate. And automatic writing is a beautiful, beautiful way to have channeled messages from guides.
Yeah.
So,
And people find automatic writing easier than Ouija boards actually sometimes. With if you use a pen, or you can use a planchette with a pen in the middle of it. That there's ways of doing that as well.
Yeah. Betsy said, I drew a board on a white poster board, and I stand in the middle, ask my question, and let my body be guided. Not really meditation, but maybe similar. It's certainly a movement.
Yeah.
So, and Robin brings us back to don't be bored when you're bored.
I love it.
Go. You heard it here first. Don't use the board when you're bored. Wow. Any last minute thoughts, Ben? This has been incredible. Thank you, everybody in chat. You are wonderful. This has been great.
Absolutely. And Gerald, all I want to say is a huge thank you to you for indulging me in this, because I've been waiting for this for so long, and I'm so glad, and I think it's gone really well tonight. So
I think so too.
And I'm so glad the chat's been so engaging with this, because
Best chatters.
we weren't sure, were we, how people would respond.
No.
So it's been really good. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We got there.
Well, and I think a big thing is be prepared, be respectful, and close the door.
Yeah. That is the takeaway from this whole thing. Make sure you close the door.
Yeah, I mean, and again, if it doesn't work for you, then don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't use it. Nobody's forcing you to.
No.
And yeah, you can use pendulum with the spirit board. It's all good. It all works. You're welcome. And this was so wonderful. Thank you. You're welcome. And you're welcome. So people need to remember, I am with Richie Longman Tarot. We're talking about Hero Marchetti decks. I have a lovely Silly Casual on my channel on Monday. Kelly will be there. Ben will be there. And then I have two amazing things going on Tuesday. One is I have a casual where we're talking to Peter J. Watts on my channel. This is we, as in me and Jamie. We're actually talking about his new book.
Oh, fantastic.
And then,
do not miss that.
Because I am an overachiever, Jamie and I actually have Eric on Tuesday, and he is the creator of the Inkwitch Tarot and the Endless Oracle, and we're doing a deck casual about that.
Oh, fantastic. I love those decks.
Yes. So loads them all over. Yes.
Oh.
Thank you. Other than Monday, do you got anything else?
Got Monday, and then we've got something, haven't we? Is it the week after with Jonathan on his channel?
Yes, we do.
We've got is it Shopping the Stash? I think that's
Shop
the name.
Your Stash. Shop Your Stash.
So that'll be good, where we talk about our tarot decks and that. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fab.
And so people need to, if anybody wants to have a conversation with the Fae about the Fae, contact me. Please send me an email. So,
Yeah.
oh, you're welcome, Lisa. You're welcome. You know, and there's a lot of things that, you know, there's people have different experiences. If we hear about a good experience, positive experience, an affirming experience, we're more likely to feel that way. If we get scared, that's something. Oh, look, everybody, email coming.
Exclusive.
Yeah, shop your stash. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, all right, Ben, thank you so very much. This has been
You're welcome.
absolutely delightful. So
I've loved it. Thank you for having me, Gerald. It's been wonderful.
You're very welcome. All right, everybody, you take care, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.